I'm going to be reading a short essay that I wrote. This will be part one. I'm going to make it around 6 minutes. The title of the essay is Americanistan. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope that you look for part two when available. While watching The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, I saw him interview a guy from the U.S. State Department that wrote the book, The Wars of Afghanistan. Pakistan comes up in the conversation, and in the true fashion of a know-it-all, the guy starts on a little spaced-out recital of all these details about Pakistan's government structure and a brief political history. He talks about how Pakistan is a military dictatorship with a full functioning, democratically elected civil government. That was a head-turner that sort of doesn't make any sense if you think about it. He went on to explain that sometime in the 70s, the military assassinated the then leader and then just assumed power via a series of generals that have since run it from behind the scenes. They really didn't put soldiers on every street or mandate every boy to be a soldier. They didn't get intimately involved in social issues. All they really did was raise the military budget to the point that now it is about 50% of Pakistan's GDP. That doesn't sound anything like a dictatorship to me. That sounds more like the US post the Kennedy assassination to present, just a bigger budget. Well, maybe that's a stretch because it's not like the military took over and we lost American democracy. The only reason the Pentagon budget got so much of our GDP was because of legitimate threats like communism, international drug dealers, Islamist extremists, and something else that I really can't think of right now. While in Pakistan, the justification was pretty much just the threat of India. The big difference between the Pakistani political structure and the US's is that the whole world, even the Pakistanis, know that Pakistan is a military dictatorship. Only crazy conspiracy theorists and fringe groups like anarchists fantasize that the US is controlled by anything other than an authentic electoral democracy. Poverty and the military don't expand in unison. They race against each other, obviously. The more capable are, to use the term coined by Dwight Eisenhower, military-industrial complexes, the more stable the domestic economy and the middle class. Sorry, the working middle class. History has proven, via every large organized political body of peoples, i.e. empires, nations, states, etc., that the greater the military's role in foreign affairs, the more likely the peoples will experience advanced domestic liberties and protections as well as overwhelming abundance of resources to assure stability far into their future. This, I think, is the societal condition that allows fascism to mature from fringe groups to political entities to populist national identities. It's like a parent that sincerely wants to be a good parent but is ignorant of what parenting entails apart from their own experience. Like a father who was abandoned as a child, subsequently concluding that life is lonely and harsh and only the lone wolf survives. This type of parent could conclude that his presence may contribute to his child being weak and needy to a fault. Such a conclusion would then be exhibited by behavior outside observers would probably view as harsh or blatantly irresponsible. However, from the male's view, he is fulfilling his obligations of a father and refuses to question his actions based on his beliefs. This is a single seed of fascism, in my opinion. When a population concludes that they have a national, possibly racial, role to fulfill in the international community, then the ability of that peoples to decipher the negative effects of their foreign policy becomes just as difficult to come to terms with as the abusive father's ability to see abandoning his kid as malicious abuse. Take good old Nazi Germany. Why did they go through such great lengths to conceal their national policy concerning minorities, Jews, gypsies, homosexuals, and the physically disabled, etc.? The individual Germans perpetrating the criminal policies obviously felt their participation was for a greater good as opposed to a shameful disgrace. So good did they see their individual contributions to their nation's identity that they weren't concerned with the idea that the rest of the world did see such activities as criminal. Or at least they were more concerned with having to deal with the rest of the world's moral opposition than whether what they were doing was actually evil. As individuals, they release themselves from the possibility of exhibiting evil behavior by reducing their individuality to a national identity, patriotism. So, insofar as Germany, their nation, could do no wrong, what they were doing could not actually be wrong. After all, they didn't do it for Hitler, they did it for their country. This is the culmination of patriotism. It's not a jack in the box that instantly pops its head out. It is like a plant or a cancer. It grows over years, decades, possibly centuries, providing the correct conditions exist to nurture it, the right systems. While most people would credit the Allied forces with the defeat of the axis of evil, I don't credit them with the development of a conscience able to put fascism on the shelf of the human experience with cannibalism and human sacrifice. With that, I'll pause and go on to part two. I hope you enjoyed this portion, and I hope it is insightful and interesting enough that you actually look for part two. I appreciate any comments, questions, likes, and I really not looking forward to any dislikes. But hey, feel free. Bye.